We are continuing to prep the WRX for the track and we are almost done.
Previously, I swapped out my old leaky power steering rack for a 2015 Plus STI rack with a 13:1 ratio. We also swapped the bushings, reinforced with a Cusco brace, and replaced the steering column linkage with the STI one, which was solid. This did two things. One, it made the steering stiffer, and two, it improved steering response. But we're not done, we have more upgrades for the car.
We've got 7 upgrades for the WRX and we are gonna start with upgrading the radiator. Actually, before we get this out of the box, I need to drain the radiator first. Oh, that one was barely any. So it looks like they did put some tape or something in here, but they were still super tight and I had to like really use a breaker bar to get these off. But I've got some more Teflon tape. I'm gonna reseal these and pop them back in.
This car has quite a bit of miles, and something I should have paid attention to were the hoses when I was taking them off, because we did have a little bit of a problem later on. Car temps are an important factor when you're tracking your car, and even though this will be my first time out, I want to keep temps low, so it makes sense to swap out this radiator.
Dude, that thing is so dirty. I might actually get a new one.
And for the upgraded radiator, we're turning to, of course, Koyo Red.
So right off the bat, the Koyo is much thicker than the OEM. It looks like it's over an inch thick and the OEM is like half of an inch. So that's gonna help with keeping the temps down a little bit. Also the overall construction. So the OEM has this top plastic piece, which is just, it feels flimsy and cheap. But the Koyo is all aluminum. So better quality, lower temps, more reliability. That's a W.
The plastic on the top of the OEM radiators are known to crack, so I want to avoid any possible failure points on this car when tracking it. And with a 1.4-inch core, it can provide much better cooling. This radiator is a true plug-and-play install. It simply mounts back onto the original OEM points. You just swap over the fans and it makes everything very easy.
I should have put that back on when I had it out of the car. So this fitting was blocked off and I put one on, but I realized I should have put the bigger one on. This one is too small. So I had these mounts, these are the OEMs, and they are rusted out and crusty. So we've got some extracurricular.
The next day I went for a test drive to make sure everything was okay, and when I got home the top radiator hose was bulging and coolant was seeping through the connection, so I had to redrain the coolant back into their original bottles, and I replaced the top and lower hoses, and I also got stronger clamps. At this point I really wish I would have used distilled water and water wetter. I also found out that you're not supposed to use an aftermarket cap on the radiator because they're two-way and the OEM is a one-way, so I also swapped that out. Now that we've addressed cooling, it's time to move on to what will get hot. Because we'll be pushing this car on the track, the current OEM pads will not be able to withstand the extreme heat that will be generated. So we need pads that are designed to take that kind of abuse.
On to some more upgrades for the car. I've got new rotors and new pads, so that way I can just use these rotors and pads for track and then my others for daily. And I got the front and rears off, and the pad difference is just huge. The front is so much bigger than the rears. The rears are like little babies. Of course, all the braking power is going to be in the fronts. So I have some DTC60s for the front, and then for the rears, I have some HP Plus. Now, I did have another upgrade for the car, but we have a problem. We were gonna run the Goodrich stainless steel lines instead of the OEM rubber lines. However, on the passenger side, I could not for the life of me get this bolt off, and it's coming very close to being rounded. I tried PB Blaster, I let it soak for a couple of days. I tried a little bit of heat just to see if I could get it loose. I tried banging on it a little bit, but I will come back after track day and I'll try to get these off with like some vice grips and maybe just give it a good yank or something. And if they break, so be it. I don't mind fixing them after the fact. I just don't want them to be ruined before track day. So OEM rubber lines for now. We will see how the stainless steel feel later. Centrics for the front. And centrics for the rear. So I'm going with centric blanks for the front and the rear. I just needed something cheap simply because the front, the DTC60s are really gonna eat the rotors, especially on just driving to the track. So dedicated track set, dedicated daily set. I'll probably upgrade to some slotted in the future, but for now, these should be perfect for the track. I wanna give a shout out to Import Image Racing for sponsoring this series. They've been a huge help in getting this car track prepped. All the parts, all fast shipping, amazing. And some other people were asking me, hey, how can I support the channel? Well, Import Image Racing and I collaborated on a custom design t-shirt that I designed. So if you go to Import Image Racing and you spend over $200, the shirt will be free. Just use the code Berlin and it'll take it off your checkout and you're good to go. Front rotors and rear rotors are completely swapped out along with the brake pads, but we have one more thing. It's gonna be some RBF 600 by Motul. I have 2 bottles. That should be more than enough to flush the entire system. That brake fluid's kind of fresh right now, but this is going to withstand the higher boiling points on the track and make it a good time. So let's get this flush going.
As I said before, this is my first time going out, so I want to make sure that the whole brake system is 100% perfect. So I picked up this power bleeder, which made the process very simple. I've never bled brakes before, so having this tool made everything much easier and I was able to do it by myself with no hiccups. The current fluid was pretty fresh, so it was difficult to tell when the fluid was actually flushed out. I wish I would have went with a colored brake fluid.
We've got one more thing on the checklist, and that's gonna be a fresh oil change. So I did recently do this a couple of months ago, so it is relatively new, but since we're gonna be going on the track and I'm gonna be beating this car, I've got some Motul 300V, 5W40, so a little bit thicker weight, made for racing, made for beating it on the track. So we're gonna swap this out. I also have the Famoto drain plug down there, and I think it's got a little bit of a leak on the gasket. So we're gonna swap that out with a just regular drain plug that has a magnetic tip on it. So there's no issues or no potential issues of that thing coming open on the track or even leaking anymore. So new oil plug, and then we're off to the track, we're done. Yeah, I think we're done for the day. It's overheating now, and I think it's getting worse.